What's up, YouTube? I think we're live. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we are. All right, there we go. All right, so welcome everybody. Hopefully everybody's doing all right. We're going to do part 3 to our SHSAT series about the digital SHSAT. I have a few more pieces of information, so this session probably is not going to be that long this time. I have some upcoming stuff that probably is going to be long, but these are not. So welcome everybody. Um, feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to ask questions pertaining to the digital SHSAT. So like I said, there's not going to be much talked about here tonight. So this is coming from notes from my website, GregsTutoringNYC.com/digital-SHSAT-FAQS. There is some information here from the first video I did with the respective notes to it. The second video I did here with the notes as well. And then let me turn off the sound because it sounds like we're got sound. And then these are going to be the notes for today, and I have some tentative stuff sitting here. There's going to be about 3 more videos after this, I think, covering some surmising about what the test is going to look like, both in the ELA section and in the math section. So I've produced a nice bunch of goodies here. So hopefully you guys are going to be there. Hey, Joel, how you doing? Good evening. All right. So again, quick notes. The first note is that the SHSAT never allowed calculators, and the digital version is not going to either. And again, the digital version, if you remember last time, is just the next version for 2025, which is bringing the pencil and paper into a computer. And we're going to see in the next sessions for this, not today, what that means. All right. And then the differences there. So, and a calculator was never allowed. Um, the exam will still be administered on a school day and still on weekends. I was wondering if they were going to change that. A lot of exams have gone to the point where you can take it at home. Kids familiar with the TACHS and some other exams like the ISEE can be done from your home, and they have software loaded on that checks that you're not cheating and things like that. So far, the SHSAT is not going to do that. So the existing structure in recent years was DOE 8th graders take it at their middle school, at least most of them do, and then everybody else, whether you're not a DOE student, whether you're a 9th grader, whether you're a private school student, homeschooled, whatever the case may be, and a few DOE students who go to from 1 through 12 schools or 6 through 12 schools. Some of those don't take it on this SHSAT day. All right. So that is not going to change either. The understanding is the exam is still going to be 3 hours long. Now, we talked about the first go through is going to just be digitizing it, and the second go through, maybe after 2026 and onward, would be adaptive. So for now, I'm going to take that 3-hour statement as a slippery one, where the first go through in 2025, it might be 3 hours, but after that, I have a feeling the exam's going to get shorter, or at least for practical purposes, it'll be a shorter exam. In other words, they may give you 3 hours, but you might be able to get it done in 2.5. Whereas the current exam, the majority of students can't get it done in the 3 hours. So, right, one of the notions of an adaptive exam is that since it's a little smarter, if you will, it can theoretically give less questions and things like that. So, so I'm not sure that it's going to stay 3 hours after next year, but at least as a minimum requirement. So that's part of what we got going on there. All right. So these are kind of easy ones. The DOE is going to, it's my understanding the exam is going to be functional through a different number of devices that will be supplied by the DOE. So students will not be bringing their own computers, and the DOE is going to run it through some sort of testing situation. Again, as some of you know, with Proctorio, on TACHS and a whole bunch of other stuff. There is software that can test out your computer and device to see if it's fast enough, it has enough memory, if it's functional. We have to make sure there's a keyboard, a screen, in some cases audio, a functional mouse or something of that point. Mouse seems like it's going to be a minimal requirement, but it could be a trackpad or something like that as well. So we have to see really what's going on there. Depending on exactly how they structure the digitizing of it, it's going to depend how that works or not. So some of that can get tricky because if you're trying to, let's use an extreme like your iPhone, if you're trying to drag something with your iPhone, that could be a pain in the neck, or your Android or whatever as well. So it seems like a desktop is going to be allowed. It seems like a laptop is going to be allowed. And it seems like some sort of tablets are going to be allowed, probably iPads. And then they're probably going to rule certain ones in, certain ones out, and then run the software on it, depending on which device it is, to kick that out or not. And I'm assuming this is going to be dynamic on test day, where if your device malfunctions or something like that, you should just be able to switch it to another device immediately. All those details remain to be seen. I'm trying to ask the DOEs these kind of questions, but this seems pragmatic and practical as well. So that seems to be what's going to go on. Now, the next thing here is one of the more controversial things. So we're probably going to spend a minute or two talking about this here. In fact, let me puff this up so we can get a better spiel about what's going on there. So I wrote down there will be additional types of questions. I discussed this already in the other sessions. And the DOE statement was, we don't expect a major content overhaul. Now, I kind of 100% agree with that. And at the same time, I'm kind of half cringing because a switch to a digital exam is a big switch. So to say it's not a major content overhaul is a little, it's causing me to get high pitched there. Now, yes, it's still going to be grade level material and grade level content, but now with the digitizing, there is going to be other opportunities for the exam to do things in different ways. So that's going to be where this kind of gets queasy, because, and this is what I'm going to show you on the next 2 or 3 or 4 little sessions we're going to do here involved with that. The content is the same, but the way we can ask the questions can be very different. For any of you who've taken the New York State exam or any other entrance exam to a school or a final or something like that, you're going to realize that there's testing of content knowledge, which is mainly what the New York State exam does. And then there's this deeper, more complex kind of questioning like the SAT does. Well, oddly enough, at least in my opinion, the test writers are constrained or were constrained by writing pencil and paper. There's only so much they could do there. So now if we're digitizing it, where we can drag stuff and click multiple things and do all these awesome, cool things, it seems that there's more opportunities available for the test writers to go deeper and more in depth and all that kind of stuff like that. So when they say don't expect a major content overhaul, sure, it's grade level math, it's a grade level ELA, but what they're going to do with it could be pretty much different. So, and on the same note, the additional types of questions, that's a little slippery one again, because right now all we have is ABCD versus grid-ins. Right, and at that they were strictly math grid-ins. Now we have a completely dynamic situation where a grid-in may have asked you for a number. You could have put a whole number like 5 or a decimal like a 5.6, right? But now, what are the answers based on an algebra question where the answer is 2y, right? So you should be able to type 2y, and that's pretty unambiguous. There's a few ways to do 2y. You can do 2xy. You can't do y2 because that's something else, but you can do 2 paren y, right? So there's a couple of ways to do that, but the the input processor on the digital exam should be able to make all those equivalent things not be a problem, right? So there is multiple ways to do something like just to give a really naive example. Not that the digitized exam would want this or allow this, but if the answer is 2, can you put like 2/1, right? Because 2/1 is the same as 2. Or even to get really pressing, could you put 1+1? Should it be able to figure that out? Probably not, but 2/1 might make sense, unless it says the answer has to be a whole number and not written as a fraction. All right, so there is a couple of things we can do, right, involve this. Or another example might be like 2/4. Should that be the same as 1/2, right? So there's equivalences, value equivalences that might be an issue. Or unless it doesn't say a whole number. If it says a whole number, you might have to put 5. But it doesn't say a whole number, you might put 5.00. That's still the same answer, right? So there's a couple of things, and this was true already on the bubble sheet and for the gradings, where you could put 0.2 or just 0.2, right? Or you could even put 0.20. Those 3 values are exactly the same. So there's going to be a little slipperiness here on all these kind of things like this. So just to be clear, I'm going to be doing other videos talking about what these additional questions might be and how to use them and how it actually changes the exam. So what we have now is this pencil and paper in a bubble sheet, right? That bubble sheet is just a critical aspect to the pencil and paper exam right now. And once we go digital, the bubble sheet pretty much gets thrown out the window. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about a lot. So this thing seems like, oh, there might be just a few additional question types. Nope. This is going digital, and it will definitely, in the least case, be a new experience. So this is something students have to kind of deal with and work through, all right? Okay, now the other significant piece of news is that, as reported by Chalkbeat, the practice test will be available by the end of March. Okay, if that's true, that's significant. I've been crying and screaming and begging the DOE to get this information released to us to actually see literally what's going to look like. Because what I'm going to show you guys is what I think it's going to be, but I don't have access to the actual platform yet. So I'm begging them for that, but they're just tight-lipped and et cetera, that they don't want to really give this to anybody. So, and even the statement that it's going to be available by the end of March, it was grossly ambiguous. Does this just mean a PDF like the SAT handbook they've been doing all along? Is it going to be the actual digital platform where we could see these practice exams mocked up on the actual platform? Or is it going to be something else completely? I don't know. It's going to be an interim step here, right? So this is confusing, and my contact at the DOE doesn't even know where this information came from. So we have cross signals in multitude here, and I put in boldface. However, this may not be correct. So I don't know if this information is right. In fact, I don't know if any of the information is right, because the DOE is being slippery on a lot of this kind of stuff. Sometimes purposely, sometimes they don't even know they're being vague. All right, so that is pretty much what I want to get across to you, that this, the no calculator rule is still going along, that it's going to be on a school day and the weekends, that it's still going to be 3 hours, that the devices are going to be supplied by the DOE, and that there's going to be new question types, and that the practice exams hopefully are going to be available by the end of March. And again, this mysteriousness behind a lot of these statements, because we can't have one hand of the DOE saying X and the other hand of the DOE either saying not X or I don't know where X came from, right? So there's a bit of confusion there. All right, so that's where we're going to end up here. If anybody has any questions, please ask. Otherwise, I'm going to end in a minute. So just to wrap up, this is just a few more tidbits. If you go to GregsTutoringNYC /digital/SHSAT-FACS, you'll see the 2 other videos I did, plus the notes that we're scrolling through here. And then what I'm probably going to do is 3 or 4 parts explaining what the different question types are going to be, these additional question types. Okay, now some of them, this doesn't mean, again, new content, but because the exam is now digitized, it might be they tap into some content they never did before. Right now, one of the things about the SHSAT, which I'm always big on, is that the SHSAT always allowed what I called wildcards. And they're kind of just random things every other year or something that they introduce. A good example is a couple years ago. Not only did they introduce poems, but some years they gave multiple poems. They have bumped up the game with box plots. They bumped up the game on square root related questions and stuff like that. So, and they rotate these to keep the exam interesting and not gameable and all these kind of things like that. So I think there's going to be new types of questions. And again, we're going to look at some of them, and then you can have a better understanding what the exam is about, not just pertaining to the digital aspects, but how the additional question types can come about and why. Right? There's a lot of kind of almost cool and exciting kind of question styles they can ask you. Just to give a naive example, currently you just have A, B, C, D, and obviously the digital exam would allow A, B, C, D. But now imagine it gives you maybe 6 options, and you can pick 2 of them, or you can pick as many as answers to the question. I gave an example before of simplifying a fraction. It might put a fraction up there like 10 over 20 and ask you how many of the 6 to 10 choices are equivalent to 10 over 20, right? So not asking you particularly to simplify it to 1/2, but asking you what else is equal to it. And the answers could be mixed numbers like 0.5, or it could be a decimal like 0.5, or it could be, even an expression like 0.25 plus 0.25, right? So that's somewhere we didn't have to deal with previously, and it's interesting how it can adapt, because as I was developing the other parts that I'm going to talk about in the next sessions, I was kind of excited and like, oh my God, I never thought of things this way. On the flip side, some of you are probably familiar with some of this already, because you're taking the MAP, the MAP assessment exams, and some other things like that. Again, some of you may have taken the TACHS already, or the ISEE, for if you came from a private school. So some of you are familiar with some of this already. Although generally speaking, those exams are digital, but not taking advantage of it. So I think we can take advantage of the digitizing. I don't know which word is right there, and make good use of that. So, right. Will there be a stylus for the test? So that's one of the things I'm asking the DOE about. Hello, Devin. That's one of the things I'm asking the DOE about. They haven't told me. Not quite sure they know yet. One of the things is, if it's on a tablet, which doesn't have a mouse, kind of something needs to be there, right? So, and I don't think they're going to constrain it just to desktops and laptops. So that's going to be an interesting question about that. It may also be allowing touch screens, right? So it might be with your finger as well instead. Just developing the 30 or 40 questions I came up with that I'm going to show in the other parts. Nothing is too granular. You could put like a coordinate grid up, and you're not going to put like 1,000 by 1,000 grid and have you touch a little dot with your finger. My fingers can barely type on an iPhone, so they're not going to have you do that. It might be a 10 by 10 grid at the most, and things like that. So, and obviously you hold down and drag with your fingers. Something like that is one possibility. Which is how it works. Trackpads can work as well, obviously. But again, on a tablet, you're not particularly going to have that unless they provide external trackpads through Bluetooth or something like that. And that's kind of pushing it. So that's an interesting question. That's one of the things on the table. I've asked the DOE dozens and dozens and dozens of things. So there's a reluctance for them to give me answers, but things are things are coming out here and there, which is why we're doing this. And then, and I just want to say, when I do the examples that I'm coming up with, again, there's 30 or 40 or 50 of them, this is what I think the exam is going to look like. I'm fairly certain it's going to look darn close to what I came up with, but I don't have access to the platform. I have not seen it, and I don't know anything about it. All right, so I'm just going to conglomerate ideas that I know are available on digital testing platforms and things like that. So that's kind of where we're going to go. All right. Any last questions here? Because what I'd really rather spend the time on is the actual sessions where we get into the nitty gritty of what the digital questions will look like. And what's interesting is, even though there's going to be a learning curve to that, they're not terribly hard to use. There's discussions about students not being computer literate and stuff like that. That's true, and I do think we need to address that. At the same time, nothing's going to be so elaborate that it's 50 steps or anything like that. Again, we can go from click A, B, C, D to click X out of 10 choices. We can click drag a shape from here to there. So nothing is really nothing nobody's seen before, right? And again, probably even occurring in your classrooms. Most students are taking the MAP and all this other stuff, so they had to have seen that. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to put this to an end. Last questions. Going, gone. All right, guys. So I'm probably going to do, you guys are off tomorrow, so that I'm probably going to do a nice, good session there about some of this stuff. And we got to roll up our sleeves for sure and just go through it again. I have about 40 examples right now. I'm going to probably add some more overnight because I have some at half stages. Some can be kind of complicated, so I want to make sure I present them right. All right. Hello, Sniper. Any last questions, guys? Go in, go in. Gone. All right. Well, please like, please subscribe. Again, there's going to be a whole bunch of other content going on here. So definitely this is something we want to consider. So, and if anybody has any questions about Digital SHSAT, go to the URL there. I have some of the previous videos and notes written there. And if you need to email me, just go email me. All right. I'm helpful. Um, all right. So, any plans to lose weight this year? Yeah, I do have plans to lose weight. All right. How about we end this session because you're just being silly at this point. All right. Peace out to everybody, including the trolls. Bye bye.